Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm Kevin, and we're going to take this little piece of scrap wood today and we're going to use our knife and try and come up with some kind of little carving with our hand tools. I just don't want to waste this little piece of wood. It's a little bit beat up, not the best, but we'll see if we can come up with a little face on it. I guess we'll do a little wizard here, and what I'll do is I'll make another video after this on a better piece of wood, and we'll just fast forward through this one because when I was whittling it, I just decided to, let me drop my knife here for a minute. Okay. What I decided to do was just kind of run the camera and film it, but I kept messing with it and playing with it, and it took like an hour and a half, and it was way too long a video to process, so I'm going to fast forward through it, and we'll get what we can get out of it. And then we'll do another one, and we'll try to make a really nice one, and because this is kind of small, and we'll try to go through the whole process and explain it. But I'll try to explain what I'm doing in a lot of this. But for now, you can just sit back and kind of watch it and enjoy it, but it's not going to be really a super slow teaching tutorial or anything. But hopefully you can get some tips out of it as we go. And what I'm doing here is just angling down and then pushing up in a little V-cut and clearing me a spot along that bridge line there so we can start our face off. And I'm going to take these corners down a little bit, and we'll figure out what kind of hat we want to put on this guy later on. It's a little bit beat up, there's some knife cuts in it, but I'm not worried about that. Like I said, again, he's small, and we'll figure out. I think I'm going to come down about an inch, something like that. Not really sure what I measured there, to tell you the truth, because I'm going fast here. And even going fast, like I said, by the time I put all the little features and stuff I want to when I do my carvings, and it still took me an hour and a half to do something like this, just taking my time. Fast forwarding, of course, is kind of tedious to watch, but we'll see what we can come up with, and like I said, we'll slow it down in the next video, and we'll do a really nice little wizard, hopefully, and we'll get a nice piece of basswood and do a nice block into a little wizard and cover it as much as we can, like we did our Indian in the last video. So I'm just kind of angling the nose up here a little bit, making sure I have some room to get my gouge out here, and we're going to try to dig the sides of the nose out with it, and then we'll pop his nostrils in and the wings of his nose and everything else. This is a U-shaped gouge. It's a number 8. If you have a smaller one, that would be considered a veiner if the sides were really high. Okay, and what we're going to do is lay it on the side here, and we're just going to scoop up to the brim of his hat and where his eyes would be, and we'll take a little wood out of there in the corners. I'm going to do that on both sides. Yeah, this wood is a little bit rough. It's got a couple of hard spots in it, so I'm not really sure how this guy's going to come out or not. But then again, like I said, I'm not really too worried about this video. I'm just kind of trying to not waste the footage, because you still might be able to get something out of it. And I'm going to carve him anyway, because I hate wasting pieces of wood. So I'm just going to kind of blend everything over into the face here. It'll give us another chance to maybe try a set of eyes with the technique I've been trying to show. There's a lot of different ways to do eyes, and we'll keep covering different ones as we go. I'm kind of rounding the nose off here and blending everything together. With the tip of my knife, I am using my flex cut and Beavercraft. I think I'm using a Beavercraft knife a lot in this video also. I sharpened my Beavercraft knives. The steel isn't too bad. I do like to redo the edges on them, and sometimes they work out pretty good. It just depends on how I sharpen them. Using my gouge, the same gouge here, to pop those wings of the nose in. When you learn how to use gouges, it doesn't take too long to get a fast nose in these carvings. That's why I'm showing this technique. I mean, of course, you can do it with your knife. You can do it a million different ways. That's the same thing when I do eyes. There's 100 different ways to do eyes. You could do simple eyes. You could do more realistic eyes. You could do closed eyes, sleepy eyes. It depends on the look you're going for. But I do tend to use my gouges a lot, and that's why I'm making these videos. I want you guys to see, you know, the effect you can get with gouges, not just a knife, all right, and not just your Dremel. Right here in the nose, I'm going to keep repeating this too. Think of your nose as a cylinder in the center, all right, and then your nostrils coming off from there. And that'll make you shape a little bit better nose, hopefully. I mean, we do start with a triangle usually, but when it comes down to it, that center is more like a cylinder shape than it really is a triangle, you know, the whole nose. When you're doing it, if you keep that in mind, you'll end up probably with a little bit better looking nose than you're coming up with if you're not liking your noses. But then again, it's your carving. You can do it however the way you want. Nothing I say is set in stone. I do switch my carvings up a million different ways. But I tend to keep that rule of thumb for myself, so that way my noses end up looking the way I want, because that's just the kind of look I like myself. Okay? Now we're going to keep the inside corners by that nose pretty deep. I'm going to clear some of this wood off up here. Trying to keep it clean and get down to better wood. Hopefully all the bad spots are out up here, and we should be able to shape a nice little hat later. Actually, I already carved my line off for the hat, so we're going to have to redraw that in later. Angling down, trying to get that nose to go back and up and under at a 45-degree angle. And before I put my mustache in, I'm going to round him off and clean up at the bottom of his nose here. I'll get all these little knife cuts out. I was probably using this piece of wood to test the sharpness of my tools. That's why you see little gouge cuts in there at the bottom and knife marks. I'll hone my knife or a gouge, and then I'll run it across a scrap piece of basswood in the shop, and then at the end I end up carving the basswood. Here I am redrawing where I want to put that hat. So let's see, where do I want to go now? I'm going to take my V tool here, and we're just going to cut across that line. Before I lose my train of thought here, I want to get that line put in. And we're going to cover this, like I said, don't mind it being fast forward. We're going to cover it in the next video. I'm planning on making a really detailed instructional video with the knife and gouges on doing a wizard. Everybody seems to like the last wizard that I did, so we'll cover doing a wizard in depth in that video. For now, this right here is just going to be fast forwarded, like I said, and hopefully we can throw some tips along the way. And if you keep hearing the same tips, hopefully you'll get the idea, and some of it'll start, you know, connecting with your brain, and you'll remember some of the things, and hopefully come up with a wizard for yourself. And right there, we did make the 3 different planes of the forehead. Okay, there's one over here, there's one in the center, and there's one on the other side. Your forehead should taper down a little bit and be skinnier at the top than it is as it comes down. It's kind of a diamond shape or a teardrop you can think of. All right, but that right there is how I usually would think of the forehead. And again, always trying to keep the corners here by the sides of the nose deep. I'm using my left hand here to come in on that side, so I'm trying to keep the cuts the same, so it kind of helps to become a little ambidextrous or practice that. If you're, see how I switch hands there and then just use the gouge. So I'm trying to make the same cut on both sides, trying to put a little divot in the corners right by the sides of the nose there. So sometimes you might want to practice that. If you can't, you can still do it with the tool in your right hand. It's no biggie, but it does seem to help me make them a little bit more even when I'm carving. Now I'm going to round off the nose here. I'm not going to do too much work. Like I said, he's only going to be a little small thing. And if you look underneath the nose, we got kind of a triangle shape there, and that's kind of what we're going for. Right there. It's not a perfect triangle, but then again, I'm not really trying too hard to make this guy super nice or anything. But if you can get that cylinder shape going down the center of your nose and get that triangle shape underneath, you're on your way to having a fairly decent nose, right? And then it's just a matter of cutting the corners in and everything to get your depth and angling him back right. Now I'm putting a couple of little divots on the sides of his mouth here. It's just going to be a simple little mouth. And that way I can push the wood in, and it'll make it go into the sides of the corners of his mouth just a little bit better. And then we'll decide what to do with the mustache and everything after that. Still have a lot of cleaning up to do on this piece. Just undercutting a little bit, putting a quick little frowny type mouth on him. Nothing too fancy. We're not going to form an upper lip really big or anything. I'm just going to cut that bottom in a little bit more with a veiner and then clean that up. Weather's kind of nice today. I'm getting excited to get the chainsaw out and hopefully start chainsaw carving for flea markets and shows with spring coming up, and make some bigger stuff, and we'll start doing some different chainsaw carvings also. Maybe we'll make a big wizard this year with the chainsaw. Still working on that. I'm just 45-degree angle. I'm cutting that bottom lip up into the upper part of the mouth there, which will probably turn into a mustache since we're making a wizard. And we're going to see if we can kind of take some wood out up here and round some eye mounds into this guy. So I'm going to come over here to the corner and take some wood out. I'm using a little gouge to do this. And we'll see if we can start saving some wood in the center as we gouge some of the wood out around that little mound, leaving it a little bit high in the center so we can shape some eyes in this guy. You want to scoop a lot of wood out around that mound in the center here. And like I said, we'll do it and cover it in detail in the next video a little bit more. I know I'm going fast and it can mess your brain up a little bit when we're going fast like this, but I didn't want to sit here and voice over an hour-and-a-half video. We'll save that for when I have a little more time. This one will be long enough even on fast forward, even though it's just a little carving. So I'm just going to shape 2 quick eye mounds in here with my gouge, and we'll explain that a little better in the next video. Like I said, once I got them shaped, I'm just going to draw a line across just like this. We're not going to make these eyes too big. That's pretty much the secret with eyes. Don't make them too big, right? Even if you have a big mound, you always trim the eyes down, or at least I do anyway, because it always tends to help the look in your carving to have smaller eyes. I'm going to sit here and try and round up and into that stop cut I just made and get that upper eyelid to stick out a little bit. I'm going to have to start using pencil again on my carvings because this marker, there's so much marker to try and take off when you're doing this, and when you're making videos, then it's kind of confusing for the people when they're watching it also, including myself. Let me get this close to me when I do this because I really can't see it myself. There's so much marker line, it's so thick, and I'm even using a small marker. You can tend to get confused and not really see where your line is, especially if you have older eyes like I do. So I got to get it out of the camera for a minute so I can turn it and see, and hopefully get that lower lid cut in here. And I'm just really using the tip of my knife, making a little stop cut on the way down and then cleaning down to it. So if you can't see that, don't worry about it. Like I said, I'll explain some things as I go in this video, and other things, we do this so much on the channel, you know, we're going to cover it over and over. So anything that you're confused about in this video, just check out the next video or one of them before, and you'll see what I'm doing there, because I'm going to keep repeating the process so you guys can see it, and hopefully we'll cover everything between all the videos. Right here, there you go. Now I drew my bottom line in, even though it's not super even with the other one. I made a stop cut and I just pushed the wood down and into that stop cut, and that's going to form my lower lid. It's giving me something to push that wood into, and then I'll round up to the top lid and try to make sure that I'm trying to form a nice little eyeball inside, because the rounder it is, the better. Let's face it, our eyeballs inside are round. And I take my time when I do this, and I really do try to work on it and try and get a decent little ball inside there, and that makes a world of difference when I pop any kind of eye in. Even if it's not the best eye, it's going to look like I did a lot more work to it, and it'll look a lot better than if I just rush that process. So try and round those off pretty good when you're doing that. Now under the lip here, I'm going to try and take some wood out and animate him a little bit better, because I don't want him all just one level all the way down. So I'm going to take some wood out there, and that way he won't look so boring and dull. When we start doing that beard hair, we'll have a little hump there that we can run some beard hair off of underneath his lip, and it won't all be the same level. He won't just be flat there. So all I'm doing is taking some wood out under the lip there and trying to get a little bit different depth than it is, everywhere else. And we want that bottom lip, of course, to stand out just a little bit. Gonna round him off on the bottom here. Don't worry, I'll be back in the camera soon. And like I said, I'm gonna cover a wizard in the next video, and it's not gonna be fast forwarded, it'll be slowed down. And step-by-step type stuff again. Just trying to get a little bit of wood out of here, because I'd really like to animate the beard in these guys since they're so simple. But I do like to have it different depths when I start. Okay, that way it'll make them a little bit more interesting to look at. I'm going to start forming a little bit of hair on the sides here and drawing in where I want to make my next cuts. We'll put hair there, and we'll take some wood out on the sides of the cheeks there with our gouge. So I'm going to get my knife, and I'm going to run down that stop cut there, and then we'll take a sliver or two of wood out there on the sides and start framing that face in a little bit better. Right there. Same thing on this side. When we get to the top, make a little cut there too, so when you run your stop cut up, it'll pop out. Yeah, springtime is on the way here. I'm getting excited. The weather is actually hitting 50 degrees today. That's nice. But we're expecting like 5 or 7 inches of snow soon. I don't know exactly if we're going to get it. I'm kind of hoping we don't. But at least we're getting close to March now, and hopefully that won't last much longer, and the weather will clear up and we'll be back to carving outside. Okay, now I drew those lines there because that's going to be where I take some wood out on the sides. And I'm trying to stay under the nose here and take some scoops of wood out. Thin the face down. Start accentuating the cheekbones a little bit above that. And this is just all building some of the dimensions that I want to give him a certain look when I blend everything together. I'll redraw those lines there. That's about where I want his face to go. And we'll take a little bit more wood out and harden those lines with my knife. Because I want those little tufts of hairs to stick out a little bit on the sides, and I definitely want his cheeks to suck in a little bit at the bottom there, and we'll start his beard there. So let me try and clean this up. The wood's a little rough down here. Like I said, it's not the best piece of basswood, but we can always clean them up if we keep messing with them. And I'm using my number 8 gouge to make those gouge cuts on the sides, okay? Making lots of chips, even though this is just a small piece of wood. One thing about knife carving, when you're done, you're definitely not having dust everywhere, but you do have wood chips to clean up. But it is a pleasure not to have to breathe the dust, that's for sure. You just sit there and relax and take your time and figure out kind of what you want to do with the piece that you got in your hand. Like right here, making his mustache kind of long and fun, and give it a couple little points on the bottom, and that won't look too bad, I think, if we can pull it off and cut all that out and get him clean enough to actually look like something. So I'm going to take my V-tool now. I'm going to go around that mustache on the outside here. Definitely keep your hand out of the way on the bottom. You don't want that V-tool slipping and going into your hand. It leaves a nice V-shaped boo-boo. So definitely wear your carving glove. Don't mind me. I know I don't have mine on, but if I cut myself, I'm responsible for my own boo-boos. If you're watching me and you're carving, I'm telling you, put a carving glove on, okay? Because you're responsible for your boo-boos too. but don't follow what I'm doing and just pick it up and not use a glove, because these tools are sharp. And right here I'm using my gouge, right, that same number 8 gouge we've been using, and I'm going around the inside and the outside of the whole mustache. That's all I'm doing there. And then I'm using it to scoop out some wood underneath that lip again too, and create some valleys and gullies that I can run my V-tool and hair through. Alright, so go right around the whole mustache on the inside and the outside, and take some wood out to raise that mustache up. Just like that. That's all I'm doing there. Going around the whole outline we made with our V-tool. And I'm adding some more lines under the chin here, making it a little bit deeper there, and running it down and getting some more depth and some more gouge cuts underneath. So when we run our V-tool, the hair will be a little bit more animated. We'll scoop out some wood here under the eyes. Try and get on the sides by the eyes there, so he has a little bit of a temple. We can also use our knife for stuff like that. Right here I'm trying to blend everything together with my gouge, and still taking wood out underneath. Pretty soon we'll be using our V-tool, and all of this stuff that we're cutting out here, we're going to make some hair and make those lines stand out a little bit more. But we'll have a bunch of neat little grooves that are all different depths when we do that, and he won't look just flat, you know. So take your time and take wood out where you want, and try and get some different highs and lows all through your carving. Now we're going to switch to the V-tool, and we're going to harden a lot of those lines and undercut around the mustache on the inside and the outside. And you'll see now that after making those grooves and all that wood we took out, when we do run some hair with our V-tool, we could focus on making it a little bit nicer instead of just those gouge cuts, and you'll start seeing the individual strands and the individual groups of hairs, which will definitely make him look a lot more fun when you view him, or if somebody's looking at him. They'll all blend together, and he'll look like he's got a nice flow of hair going through his mustache and his beard. Can even deepen the mouth and a little bit under the lip, clean up around his nose, anything you want with that V-tool. And then I'll go around and I'll take the sharp edges off with my detail knife. And again, don't worry if it's going fast and you're missing things, because we're going to cover this over and over. I usually change up a lot of things, but I'm trying to stick to the same techniques for a while on the same things I do. So if you did like something that I did, you know, we will cover it again in depth over and over, and then we'll switch up and start doing different techniques. Every video that I do, sometimes they're a little fast like this, and other times they're really slow and step by step. And like I said, if you can just get one thing out of each video, well, then hopefully you'll have a better understanding of wood carving, and you can use any of the tips and tricks that I use, or any of the other channels, and take everything, put it together, and that's how you learn. So just because I'm doing certain things here doesn't mean I'm going to do them in the next video. But if you see something here, I might touch on it, and then you might not see it for a while, and I might change up the way I'm doing things, and you'll see something else. But use whatever you like and whatever works for you. Okay, nothing is set in stone. There is no wrong way to do anything unless you're really trying to make a certain project, or you want a certain look. Just have fun, learn some simple techniques, play with it. Of course, we could make things better, or we could make them a lot worse and quick and fast and fun. You know, it just depends on what you're going for. Right here, I'm just trying to shape this little piece of wood into a little wizard and practice some techniques to make that little piece of scrap wood at least into something, so I don't have to throw it away. Alright, let's see what kind of hat we can come up with here. We're just going to fold the piece over, and we'll do something like this. I'm going to cut that out with my rough out knife for a second. So the tip of the hat's just going to kind of fold down. I'm not even going to focus on making a super good hat. Like I said, this video is fairly long, and I just ate lunch and I sat down and this piece was on the desk and I had my camera right there ready to film the video that I'm really doing on the Wizard. And I figured I'll do a quick practice one first before making the other video, and maybe I'll come up with something that I want to do a little bit more serious. So I just made this whittle and I said, okay, we'll do a Wizard like that. And I just fast forwarded through this one, and the video after this will be the real in-depth one. And hopefully, if you like this little one and how he comes out, you'll join me in that one, and we'll slow everything down and go step by step. So now I got some eye mounds in here pretty good. I'm going to take my little veiner and I'm going to pop some quick pupils in here. We'll pop those out with the detail knife. I'm not going to worry too much if one eye looks a little bigger than the other at the moment. Like I said, I'm just going to come up with what I can. I'm using a little tiny V tool here to try and go around that pupil to give him a little bit more interesting look. And I would probably even deepen that a lot more so I could see it better. But not too worried. Any extras, if that eye is too big, I would just make little wrinkles in his eye bag, and that would take care of that look. And I would just make the eyes smaller by doing that and try to even them out. Alright, so see, so I have very little work on those eyes, and I just used my V tool to kind of make them look a little nicer. And we'll cover that again in other videos too, because I didn't really go too in depth on that as far as just making quick little fast eyes. But like I said, if you have a nice little eye mound in there, it's not hard to do, and just run a V tool around that hole and make it look a lot like it's a lot more work than you actually did, even though it's real simple and a basic technique. It's one of the things I do, one of the tricks that I use, instead of, you know, oh, it's got to be this and it's got to be that. No, I'm just going to pop two holes and run a V tool around them and see if I can make them look good. I'm going to run some hair with the V tool down here, a couple lines where the beard meets the face. After I make these little V cuts in the sides of the tufts of those hair, I'll run that V tool right down and into the beard, and we'll probably give him some mustache lines with this V tool also. I really don't know what I'm going to do with this guy. He could just end up a little fun thing to give somebody. He could be an ornament if I wanted to switch him up just a little bit and make him a Santa Claus. Okay, he is flat on the back. It was one of those pieces that you could do a lot of different things with him. To me, he's just a piece that I'm carving, practicing another face on. I really don't know. He'll probably end up being sold for a couple bucks at the flea market or something. I'll just throw him in my box with the other completed carvings when he's done. I'm just going to give him some lines for eyebrows here, not really worrying about what kind of eyebrow I have or anything. Not really stressing over how he's shaped or anything. Like I said, it's not a big important carving to me. Just trying to use up the wood that I have and practice detailing. That V-tool, don't underestimate your V-tool. You can give a lot of extra detail, like right here, a couple lines on the forehead, give him a little character. And I could round him off more, make his beard come to a point, whatever. I'm going to take that V-tool and get a little more shadow under the hat, round it off a little bit with my knife. We're going for that little twirly top, ice cream cone drip type of look on the top where the hat just folds over, okay? And it looks like it's bent a little bit at the top, and he's got a floppy little hat there. It's not a real serious hat, but it's enough to insinuate that he's got a wizardy type hat. Now let's clean him up. Got a piece of 220 here. Just gonna run around and clean him up, and once he's off camera, I'll really clean them up. Make sure you brush them off if you are going to run any more tools through him. And that's what I came up with this guy. Hope you enjoyed this. We'll do a serious one in the next video. Thanks for watching.